You're watching Past the Wire TV.
Knowledge. It ain't free. You got to pay attention.
You know that, my man.
It's always a pleasure for me, Jonathan, to be with you. You were the first person that gave me an interview when I came to United States, so I will be grateful to you forever.
I knew you were one of the best riders in the world.
And they're off in the Kentucky Derby.
You're watching Past the Wire TV, the biggest races at the best tracks. From the Kentucky Derby to the Breeders' Cup. The best horse racing coverage is right here on Past the Wire TV.
Ciao tutti. And man, did we see a Preakness for the record books. One of the best Preaknesses that I can remember without a doubt. A Fleet Alex and him almost going down, turning for home when Scrappy T bore out under a left-handed whip by Ramon Dominguez comes to mind. Sunday Silence and Easy Goa, just two horses throwing it down, two riders throwing it down, and Sunday Silence getting the better of Easy Goa that day. Great running, and this one's got to be right up there with it. There's been a lot of great Preaknesses. I know, Secretariat ran, fast as polished steel, but this was just an unbelievable performance, and what guts by journalism and Umberto Rispoli. Just all out, phenomenal race, phenomenal effort, and what does it do? It sets up what, promises to be, and it would be tough at this point to argue against it, but it sets up what can very easily be one Belmont Stakes to remember, because I got to say, we're looking at a potential unbelievable field, and just an unbelievable horse race. And we'll break it down a little bit early, just to feed into the excitement and everything that's going to build up to this Belmont Stakes, which is a little shy of 3 weeks away at Saratoga this year, as much as most of you know. 1.25 miles as opposed to 1.5 miles, as most of you know. 1.25 miles at Saratoga, like the Travers, same distance as the Derby, 1/16 of a mile longer than the Preakness, I guess. But it just, this year, I'm not a fan of running the Belmont at 1.25 miles. I hope they bring it back to 1.5 miles. I hope they move it back to Belmont Park. All of that, in my opinion, is up in the air. We'll see. Who knows? But, this year, 1.25 miles at Saratoga kind of suits it, because Saratoga is a legendary race course, and we have what promises to be a legendary horse race. Now, we're looking at some solid horses going in. Obviously, you've got to hope that journalism, without that bouncing around, or with that bouncing around, I should say, comes out feeling good and feeling himself. Yeah, he's got 3 weeks, but when you got 1,000-pound animals banging into each other like that, just think about it. It's like, let's say you're 180 or 200 or 2.25, whatever your weight is, and you got somebody your size banging into you that you're not really used to. You can get a little bit of body sore, for a couple of days. Can that set a horse back? Absolutely, it can. You never know. To me, it looked like journalism has that, trait and inherent quality that you can't teach, can't breed, can't make it there when it ain't. And that's heart and toughness and grit. And it looked like he got pissed off when that happened. And once he got into the clear, he said, you know what, I'm going to go get that horse and win this race. And he certainly did. That's a huge attribute in horse racing. Now, before we break down the Belmont a little bit more, I'm going to say this. His victory in that race and the way that he did it brings two questions to my mind. One, well, I would be less than honest if I said that I hadn't thought about both of these things before the race, but I've always believed that journalism is not a stalker and not a lay right behind the speed kind of horse, or at least not at his best that way, like a lot of people seem to think he is, maybe even including his connections, and a lot of people want him to be. And I get it. You can win more races stalking and sitting right off the pace than you can from being a deep closer. But I'm a big believer in not fixing something that ain't broke and not changing the natural style of somebody or something or of a racehorse. And I believe journalism is a closer and pretty close to a deep closer. I think he runs best when he's coming down the stretch with a target. I think you saw that in the Los Alamitos race. And, most of you that watch this channel know that I liked journalism as a Derby contender before the Los Al race. A lot of people jumped on his bandwagon after that. I liked him before that. He just, he reminds me of two horses, Curlin and Barbaro. He's got similarities to both of them, in my opinion. But that aside, I think he runs better when he's got a target. And I think he validated that opinion somewhat when he got clear in the stretch of the Preakness and went after Gazzale, who looked like he gave the slip to everybody in the race. And we all know how tough it is to catch a horse who's giving you the slip, and to catch Luis Saez when he's on the lead by 3, 4, 5 lengths at the 8th pole or the 16th pole. And just, all out in a drive. Gazzale is a lightly raced, improving horse, and ran a winning race, just got run down by a superior animal that day, and maybe just a superior animal. That remains to be seen going forward. But I think that journalism showed that his best races are when he's got a target in front of him. Now, when Code of Honor, going back a ways, lost the Kentucky Derby, I always felt, and I made a score on him in the Travers, which coincidentally is 1.25 miles at Saratoga, similar to what the Belmont Stakes will be this year. But I always felt that if the track didn't come up sloppy and he wasn't on the rail that day, and if you go back and watch the race, he's one of those horses on a long list of woulda, coulda, shoulda. I think if the track wasn't sloppy that day, Code of Honor would have won the Kentucky Derby. It's my opinion. Watch the race. You make up your own mind. Everybody's got an opinion. We know what most of them are like. And people see things the way they want to and the way they do. And, that's that. But, I go by my eyes, my opinion. These, to me, are the eyes I trust. So I thought he would have won the Derby. Now, I'll say the same thing about journalism. Not that he would have won. I'm going to change that a little bit and tweak it for the current set of circumstances we had this year. I would say that it's at least possible, and I don't think you could argue with my terminology here, or vernacular, or whatever the heck you want to call it. I don't think you could argue that had it been a fast track on the first Saturday in May, the results may have been different. We don't know that. And the sad thing is, and this is just the truth, no matter what happens in the Belmont, we still don't know that, because different race, different day, different track, different timing, different field, different setup. So regardless of which horse, if either one of them win the Belmont, it's not going to validate or not validate that statement. That's a statement we'll never really know the answer to. But it's my opinion. I think there's a good likelihood that the result might have been different. And I think that if my assessment of journalism has been correct since last year, that he's a better closer and better with a target, then the argument exists And, I'd go as far as to say if I was the trainer or owner of that horse or the rider, I would say, listen, in the Belmont, I would do what Junior did in the Derby. I would follow Sovereignty. I would take journalism back, put the bullseye on Sovereignty, and I would follow him, stay close enough where he doesn't get too big a jump, but try and run him down in the stretch instead of having him try and run you down in the stretch. Both of those horses, I believe that is their strong suit. So I think that had journalism followed Sovereignty in Louisville instead of the other way around, we might have seen a different result that way, even on the sloppy racetrack. Another thing we'll never know, but that could be validated a little bit. That could be validated is if Umberto employs those tactics up at Saratoga, assuming journalism is feeling good and makes the trip or makes the race, and follows him and he runs him down, then you got to kind of say, hey, maybe that guy is right. Maybe he is a closer and runs better with that target in front of him. And that's that. Now, this is in no way, assuming they go, all of them, a two-horse race up there at the Spa. Don't think that for a second. We'll start with Baeza. Baeza went into the Derby with a lot less seasoning than Sovereignty and journalism. And those of you that know the game really good and are quite astute in your analysis, handicapping, research, know that John Sheriff's is an extremely patient and I would say easy trainer. Doesn't really push his horses, doesn't crank them up, runs them into shape, slow develops them. So Baeza, to show up on the first Saturday in May with that kind of race, spotting everybody else in that race, the seasoning and experience that he did, and coming from a barn that doesn't really crank them up and train them the way, some of these major stakes winning barns do, you've got to say, this could be an extremely talented racehorse that might, when he gets that seasoning and that experience under the belt, be just as good as anybody out there. And this is looking like a really good bunch of 3-year-olds. So how much did he get out of that Derby? How much will he go forward off of it? And how much of an advantage is it going to be for him? Or maybe a disadvantage, but I would say more likely an advantage that he skips the Preakness and has 5 weeks until the Belmont, when journalism, he went 15 rounds, heavyweight fight against, some big, strong opponents. So that's going to certainly come into play. So journalism, Sovereignty, Baeza, all have to be taken seriously. Sovereignty. And Baeza didn't get a good trip in the Derby. Of the 3, he got the worst trip. So he had a lot going against him. And we know, again, if you go behind the scenes and know what's going on out there, you know that Pratt wanted to ride Baeza early on if he got in. And the way he wound up on Neo Equus's connections were willing to let him off if Baeza got in, and a lot of other calls that he could have gotten in the Derby were not so willing to let him off if Baeza got in. They're like, hey, if you ride our horse, you're going to ride our horse. So thus he wound up on Neo Equus. It worked out for him because he wound up riding a horse that we all knew that he really wanted to ride. Why do you want to ride him? Because California backside all knew that Baeza is a serious runner. So with that, Baeza on the surface right now has to be taken seriously. And everybody sort of gallop out in the Santa Anita Derby, and that kind of, put him on a lot of people's radar. But, gallop out ain't the race, but the race he ran in Kentucky, and, the fact that he was just a step behind a lot of these horses really speaks volumes for his chances to improve and make a heck of a race out of it up at Saratoga. Now, Sovereignty, the Derby winner. No way to knock Sovereignty. My knock on Sovereignty going into the Derby, and I thought that he and Journalism were the best two. I liked Journalism better, no secret about that, but I thought they were the best two. But you got to realize, had a tremendous advantage in what was it, the Fountain of Youth, where he beat River Thames. That was not really a mile and a 16th race. That was more like a mile and an 8th race. They had a ridiculously long run up. And at Gulfstream, a mile and a 16th without that run up, the closers are up against it, but they kind of leveled the playing field for him a little bit by, making that ridiculously long run up. Now, River Thames is a little bit questionable as to whether he's that, quality level, but can't take it away from him. He come back. He was closing on Tappan Street in the Florida Derby, and he got a nice trip and followed Journalism and just run him down on the square and was the better horse under those circumstances that day on the first Saturday in May. So Sovereignty has got the 5 weeks off like Baeza. Pointing for this race, Belmont spends a lot of time and trains a lot of horses and has for a long time up at Saratoga. I would say that's his backyard, a lot more than Mike McCarthy's and a lot more than John Sheriff's. So if there's a home court advantage to be had up there, I would say it's certainly Sovereignty that gets it. So, it'll be very interesting to see the strategy in a smaller field. I'm going to try and plant the seed in Umberto's mind to follow him around. Now, maybe I won't. That's a mistake, because then if he loses, I'll have to hide. So I'll let that play out naturally. But I would like to see Journalism follow Sovereignty in the Belmont Stakes and see what happens. Now, I said it wasn't a 2-horse race. I'm going to say it ain't a 3-horse race, because you've got other horses coming into that race that could be extremely dangerous. All right. Hill Road, Chad's horse. Now, this is a horse that I bet at a ridiculous 30, 40, 50 to 1 price, whatever the heck he was, in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, his first race on the dirt. Gave him out in our Breeders' Cup seminar last year up at Belmont. I thought that the Juvenile was a race that the pace could collapse in. Didn't happen. Citizen Bull went wire to wire and held, but he ran third that day at like 50 to 1 or whatever it was. I knew he was going to be a dirt horse. I didn't know he was going to wind up in Chad's barn. He needed the race at Tampa Bay Downs, got a lot out of it. I thought he'd win the Peter Pan. He did win the Peter Pan. Strong late run. And, the question is, who did he beat? What did he beat? He didn't beat horses of this caliber, but he competed in the Breeders' Cup. He's highly regarded. And most importantly, he's in Chad's hands. Now, what do we know about Chad? When Chad sets out to win a race and points for a specific race, he's as deadly as anybody in the friggin' game. Make no mistake about it. I mean, he targeted the Preakness with cloud computing, skipping the Kentucky Derby. Bang, he win it. He targeted the Preakness with early voting, skipping the Kentucky Derby. Bang, he win it. He took a shot at Tampa to maybe get Hill Road to the Derby. Once he saw that wasn't going to work out the way he wanted it to, what did he do? He packed up his bag, said, I'm going to wait. And where's he going? He's going to his backyard, big time backyard, the Belmont at Saratoga, with a true 1.25 mile horse. Probably going to be sitting behind both Journalism and Sovereignty and making his late run. And I'm assuming he's going to lose Pratt. I'm assuming that Pratt's going to stick with Baeza. but we don't know that yet. At least I don't know that yet. There's probably a lot of people out there that do know that. I ain't one of them. I don't ask a lot of questions, but we'll see what happens. You know, it's Chad Brown. He's going to put somebody good on him if he loses him, and if he gets, you know, practice stay on him, I'm sure Baeza will wind up with a good rider as well. So I don't think that's going to play into it too much. But if I was the trainer, owner, or connections of either one of those two, I'd want to keep Flavien on my horse if at all possible, because he rode him last time. He knows him, and I just like that continuity. But Hill Road, dangerous. Now, there's another horse who I don't know if he's going to go or not, but if he does, I got to say, you know, things that make you go, wasn't that a song? Well, this makes me go, What about the horse that won the Sir Martin on the Preakness undercard, Crudo? That horse ran one hell of a race, and we know Todd likes to take his shots when they're hot. Might he go for the Jim Dandy or the Haskell or something like that? Yeah, but off that Sir Martin, I think you at least got to be saying, do we want to take a shot in 3 weeks at the Belmont? He won that race wire to wire. How much speed is there going to be in the Belmont? Will that come into play? Is he one to watch? I would have to say, yeah, if he gets in there, you know. Look, like I said, we're looking at, you know, the potential for one heck of a race. Let's just see something here. I'm just checking on something. Bear with me. See who we got on the list. Okay, another one. Gazzale coming out of the Preakness. They're looking at the Belmont now. I think he earned a spot. You know, he might be a cut below some of the other ones if he couldn't put journalism away under those conditions on Saturday. I don't know how he's going to do it, you know, in 3 weeks up at Saratoga, but he is improving. You've got Rodriquez, another intriguing horse, and a speed horse. If Crudo doesn't go, which he ain't really on the radar right now, I don't think they're, you know, I don't know whether they are or not planning to send him. But what if Rodriquez winds up in the race? He didn't get to run in the Derby, didn't run in the Preakness. Bob Baffert, anybody better fresh than Bob Baffert? I don't know if there is. You tell me who it is, but he may wind up the speed. And when Bob has a speed horse out there in Saratoga going 1.25 miles, 3-year-old, remember Arrogant, run the fastest Travers ever. Rodriguez gets out there on a lonely, brave lead. Let me ask you something. You're alive in the pick 6 for $1 million going into the Belmont. And Bob takes the lead with Rodriguez by 2-3 lengths into that first turn. And you ain't got him on your ticket. How do you feel? I know how I feel. Worried. Remorseful. Silly. Like I said, we're looking at the potential of an epic Belmont Stakes, and I think it's great for the game. A lot of people are saying, oh, you know, these horses didn't run back into Preakness. We lost a great opportunity. Rah, rah, rah. Going to all make up for it at Saratoga, and Saratoga is the perfect venue to do that. I hope Naira runs it right and puts on a good show. I know the horses are going to put on a good show. But Naira, I know the pricing, that is to that. They do a lot of, you know, stuff that a lot of people don't seem to like. I didn't go to the Belmont at Saratoga last year, but I heard it was roped off here, roped off there, cordoned off here, cordoned off there. And one of the allures of Saratoga always was the access and the closeness to the horses in the paddock and everything, and the, you know, intermingling. And they kind of killed that. You know, I look at it almost like, you know, Saratoga is such an old historic race course. You take you go out, you buy, a vintage red Ferrari. And then you go to like Kmart and put a brand new modern, aftermarket spoiler on it. You just don't do that shit, You don't mess with perfection. And Saratoga was a perfect venue and perfect place. And they keep messing with it and extending the meet and watering it down and making it, from, a elite boutique championship meet to just a money grab. But that's their decision and that's what they do. And, be that as it may, we'll still enjoy it and get the most out of it. And that's that. But, they're looking at an epic race. Met Mile aside, that's a whole nother story. I'm not going to talk about the Met Mile, but the Belmont is just this year, the race of the year right now. Even though it's only 3-year-olds, the Breeders' Cup's not till November. We don't know what's going to happen there, but this is easily the race of the year, big time. And we just talked about all of these horses. We're all going to make an opinion and a decision. Well, most of us anyway, on who we like and who we're going to lean on in that race. Of the ones I mentioned, I couldn't talk you out of any of them right now. I couldn't say you're out of your mind. You're nuts. What are you doing? What are you thinking? If you like that horse, don't bet the race. I couldn't say that to any one of you. This is a race where there's going to be good decisions. Hopefully we make the right ones. But this is a heck of a horse race shaping up. But I will say this, based on the probables, looking at it objectively and fairly, I like to look at, when you get a race with a lot of good horses and a lot of contenders, pace advantage, and trip. Rodriquez jumps out as a dangerous front runner, fresh and dangerous, and he's super fresh because he didn't only skip the Preakness, he didn't run in the Derby. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. Now, on that note, our man Gio Setti is going to be doing a Belmont Stakes seminar. You could watch for the announcement on that, be out either later today or tomorrow. I will not be participating in that. This one is Gio's. I'll just be doing my normal tracking trip stuff and videos and whatnot. But Gio is going to do a Belmont Stakes seminar deep dive. And Gio's deep dive, he's going to start it Thursday night, I think, at like 7 p.m. on Belmont Week. And we're hoping in the behind the scenes studio and the war room here where we are right now, we're hoping that he finishes before post time on Saturday. That's what we're hoping. So we'll see if he can bring it in 48 hours. You never know. You never know with Gio. His passion and his enthusiasm and his thoroughness is just, in a class by itself. No question about that. So I just wanted to weigh in a little bit and take an early look at this Belmont because, I've been playing this game a long time, and this particular race absolutely has to get you excited if you love this sport and the Sport of Kings, and if you love wagering, because I don't know, was everybody going to be 5-2, 3-1, 7-2? I don't know, probably, at least a few of them. I wouldn't want to have to make the morning line. I don't even know who makes the morning line at NYRA anymore. I go back so far where the morning line used to be made by a mutual clerk, and he wrote it on that board in the morning. So now they got official morning line odds makers and got to add up to a certain number. What is it, 100, 101, whatever it is? I don't give a shit. But whoever makes it, they got their work cut out for them if they want to try and be accurate or not look like just Mr. Magoo. So with that, a lot coming up. Great race coming up. Great day of racing coming up. I even make a last minute decision and shoot up there, but probably not. But it ain't impossible. In any event, thank you everybody for watching. Appreciate you all. Hit the like button, subscribe, show us some love. We've been a little behind responding to the comments. We try and get back to all of them, but sometimes we get a little bit, caught up in, doing other stuff for the channel and doing other stuff for you all that support us and like us. But we do see you all. We do appreciate it, and it means everything to us. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching and listening, and ciao for now.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, heading to the final front. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Past the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Past the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.
Remember, if you ain't smooth, you can never be a smooth operator. Nobody does it better.